Hello, welcome to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast, where it is all about helping amazing physicians just like you create a wealthy life free from burnout and with the financial security to practice medicine on your own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Elisa Chiang. Hello, and welcome back to the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. This episode is inspired by a post I saw online. The poster asked the question, when did you finally feel you made it financially? This is a public post that anyone can see, so feel free to do a search to find the post in its entirety. I'm going to summarize the post here. I'm going to assume the poster is a he because he mentions a wife. The poster notes that he makes $300,000, his wife makes $70,000, and that they are saving 20% of their income. However, when the poster looks at the bigger picture, he says that they feel like they're chasing. He talks about how they are still renting a duplex, their vacations are road trips to see family or visit national parks, and he's still driving a 2011 Nissan. He writes, quote, "We afford what we need without worrying, but splurge very little still on wants," end quote. He then talks about expectations he has and that his wife wants a house. Later, he writes, quote, "I know I probably come off as out of touch, but it's hard not to feel like at some point as a physician, I should get to spend on the fancy things or even one fancy thing, when in reality, I feel I'm not even keeping up with the life my parents provided me growing up," end quote. The post ends with him writing, quote, "So going back to my original question, when did things finally shift for you from doing fine financially to feeling like you were truly reaping the financial rewards of your career?" End quote. There were many comments to this post, some of which actually answered the poster's question. There were a group of posts that answered the question with the focus of getting out of debt, mostly student loan debt. There were answers like, "As soon as we got PSLF, and $600,000 came off the books." Another response was, "If I could point to one thing, it's the moment I paid off my student loans at the age of 39. Once that goes away, world is your oyster." Someone else posted, "I think after I paid my loans off, had some saving." There's also someone who posted the comment answering the question with, "When I paid off my mortgage." Other people who made comments felt like they made it once they had a significant amount of assets. Someone answered, "Once we got $500K in 401k and another $500K in brokerage and $130K in 529. Someone else posted, "When I reached 2 million liquid, I felt myself relax a bit and realize I am close to the finish line of achieving a solid chubby FI." Another comment read, "When we hit $1 million in net worth and household income at $700,000. Someone else posted, "Hit 1 million net worth 2 years out of training and paying my loans off, affording me basic fire as a single guy." For other people who made comments, it was really more about a feeling. One person wrote, "When we stopped having to worry about what we were spending." Another comment reads like this, "Around 6 years after training, things started to feel a lot more relaxed. Student loans were paid off, ASC was paid off, income was rising, kids were out of daycare and in public schools, and each time I ran my quarterly financial numbers, accounts were moving up in a larger and larger amounts." My favorite comment is this one. "I'm a dentist and my wife an accountant for primarily physicians. Every day I'm told it's not what you make, but how you spend. She's told me half of her clients couldn't write a check for $20K without taking a loan. Seasoned docs, the Rovers, Bentleys, and lavish docs often can't make payroll on time. Some are doing very well, but divorces and remarrying adds a lot of financial stress and years." When it comes down to it, the comment I agree with the most was probably this one. I was making upper 10th percentage for my specialty at one point, but still felt like chasing, and also deeply unhappy and burnt out. It's all about the mentality. The best thing you can do is sit down with your wife and write a financial plan together. Figure out what is non-negotiable. Rushing to buy a house before you get your finances are in order is a classic dumb doctor mistake. When I first read the post, I did start thinking about how I would answer. The first thing that came to my mind is that I felt like we were doing fine financially once my husband started working at a public high school, which bumped up his income to around $50,000 a year. Prior to that, he was working at a charter school, making $33,000 a year as a science teacher with a master's in education. Since I've been tracking my spending and income for, well, really since undergrad, I was able to look back and see when this happened. He started teaching at the public school in the fall of 2008, which is when I went back to the third year of medical school after finishing my PhD. This is when it hit me that we must have felt fine financially even before then, since I had opted to take off 8 months from school to start my third year of medical school in July instead of starting in October and losing 3 months of clinic elective time. Basically, I was working on finishing my PhD from July to October and would have had to take 3 months of research as elective time and then started a third year medical rotation in October. This would have actually let me graduate in 2009 instead of 2010, and I would have continued to earn my MSTP stipend. However, it would have given me a lot less elective time before having to choose what residencies I want to apply to. And at that time, I really had no idea what specialty I might want to practice. I also felt burnt out from grad school and wanted a break. I had also been reading about investing in real estate and really wanted to try it. Like I mentioned, my husband was making $33,000 a year working at a charter school, and my MSTP stipend was $23,000 a year. So we had a combined income of $56,000 a year, and I made a good portion of that with my MSTP income. Yet I made the decision that we would financially be okay living 8 months without my stipend on his income and whatever other work I could find. During that time off, I did find a very part-time lab tech position where I was making $15 an hour, but I actually made less than $2,000 total during the time I had off. So I had been doing our budget on a fiscal year that followed a school year. So it would go from July to June because really I started tracking finances in undergrad and everything was kind of based on a school year already. And then, of course, with my husband as a teacher, our income was kind of based on the school year. And I was also still a student, so everything based on the school year. So looking at our budget for the 2007 to 2008 fiscal year, we had around $40,000 in income after tax withholdings, and we spent $39,000. We didn't save much that year, but we still traveled and spent about $3,000 on traveling that year. We spent around $2,200 on groceries, close to $20,000 on housing, which included the mortgage, utilities, including our cell phones, and home insurance. We spent $5,400 in transportation, which included gas and auto insurance. The total we spent on, I'm just going to say stuff, was $6,000, both necessary things like toilet paper, as well as any unnecessary things. It was basically anything that we spent at a store. We spent $1,000 on medical expenses and another $1,000 on services, including my gym membership. We also spent $1,800 on experiences, fun stuff that was not associated with travel. During that specific fiscal year of July 2007 to June 2008, we did not make any Roth IRA contributions, which we typically make in January of each year, but I did eventually make our 2008 contributions later. The 8 months I took off were probably the best months of my life. I spent a lot of time being a part of the SCA, which stands for the Society of Creative Anachronism. But what it really means is that I spent a lot of time doing fun things, like my hobbies, and I enjoyed spending a lot of time with friends, as well as making new friends. For our travel that year, we went to Mexico, and we got scuba certified over winter break. I also went to my friend Julie's wedding in Florida. That year, I bought a bank-owned home, rehabbed it, and sold it for enough profit to pay off the expensive real estate courses I had bought in order to actually have the confidence to be a real estate investor. I then bought a second bank-owned home and did it again, though the second time around I had much less profit than the first time. I was learning a lot and stretching myself and having a lot of fun. I tell you all this to hopefully show you that the feeling of financially made it does have a lot to do with mindset. The time I'm describing, I don't have a significant net worth, but I had enough financial stability to give up my stipend for 8 months and put off graduating medical school by a year. This is why I love the book, The Simple Path to Wealth. At the heart of the book, Collins talks about having FU money, enough money to walk away from a job to do what you really want to do. His example was he wanted to go travel, and so he was going to walk away from a good job that he had in order to essentially take an extensive vacation. I think once you have that concept of FU money and that you could walk away from any situation, you can feel financially good about where you're at. In that light, it makes sense for a lot of people to feel good after the elimination of debt. Once the debt is gone, the payments for that debt is gone. That can mean a large decrease in your fixed expenses, especially a fixed expense that you really don't have much control over, like student loans. You can downsize where you live. You can cut back on spending. But there's only so much you can do to lower your student loan payments. While I didn't have any medical school debt, I did pay off my undergraduate debt sometime during residency. For those people who commented on the post that they felt good once they had a certain amount of assets or net worth, I think it has to do with thoughts that bring them feelings of security by having those assets. The milestone of 1 million really seemed to stand out in those comments. Society teaches us to think that millionaires are rich. Think back to the game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? $1 million is the grand prize for dozens of game shows and reality TV. This includes Survivor, The Amazing Race, America's Got Talent, The Challenge, and American Ninja Warrior. Now, going back to the comment that was made by a dentist whose wife is an accountant, you can make a lot of money, but that doesn't mean you have a lot of money. There are physicians who earn $1 million in annual income, but may not be financially stable. Of course, those are physicians who are likely spending like they are reaping the financial rewards of their income, but they're not actually financially doing well. The poster's original question was, quote, "When do you finally feel you made it financially?" End quote. But he actually ended his post asking, quote, "So going back to my original question, when did things finally shift for you from doing fine financially to feeling like you were truly reaping the financial rewards of your career?" End quote. To me, from what he's writing, it seems like he does not actually equivalent doing financially fine as the same as made it financially. In my mind, making it financially sounds like some kind of endpoint. And I think this poster might be falling into the trap of a rival fallacy. The actuality is that you want to enjoy the journey. And really, that's how it's played out more in my life. It's really been more of a process. My husband and I have slowly increased our lifestyle while maintaining a high savings rate, such that we always feel like life is getting better and that we're able to have more. It's all about mindset. How we feel comes from our thoughts. Cognitive behavioral therapy is rooted in the idea that our interpretations and thoughts drive our emotions and behaviors. What did the poster have to think in order to feel like he's reaping the financial rewards of being a physician? From what he posted, it sounds like to me that he has to think he can afford to live a lifestyle better than when he grew up, while still saving 20% of his income. However, I'm not sure if he knows if his parents were actually saving 20% of their income when they provided him the lifestyle when he was growing up. For me, it's all about having the financial resources to continually improve my life and work towards my ideal life. What would you have to think to feel like you are reaping the financial rewards of your career? Is it about how much you have in assets? Is it about the house you live in, the vacations you take, If you don't feel like you're benefiting from your income, what is it that you think you need more of? Or what is it that you think you need to have better than what you have now? Why do you think that would make you happier? What are the consequences that you may not be considering? For example, perhaps you think you need a bigger house to be happier. When asking why, you may answer something like you want each of your children to be able to have their own room so they won't fight as much, and that you feel like you just need more space for your family. Maybe you also want a bigger yard for the kids to be able to play in. However, it is very possible that once you move into a bigger house, the kids still fight, even if they still have their own room. Initially, you may feel like you have more space, but then you end up buying things that fill in that space. After a few years, you begin to feel like there's not enough space again. And you've spent more money filling that space, so now you have less in savings. The bigger yard could mean paying more for lawn care. The bigger house means more time cleaning, or maybe you hire someone to come clean. Again, that's more increased spending, either in time or in money. The neighborhood you move into would also likely be full of bigger houses, which could also mean that your neighbors are driving more luxury cars, and that gets you thinking that maybe you should also have a luxury car. Perhaps you talk to your neighbors and they talk about their fantastic vacations around the world, and now you want to go to places that maybe you've never even heard of before. If you push the limits of what you can afford when you buy a bigger house, you may actually find it harder to save as much as you did before, especially when you add in all the extra expenses and spending that comes with living in a bigger house. Then think back on your current house. Perhaps it feels small, but you haven't gone on a purge in a while, getting rid of stuff that you no longer need or don't use anymore. Perhaps your current house is close to your kid's school or close to your work, and so if you moved, you'd have a longer commute. If you stay at your current house, maybe you can pay off your mortgage sooner compared to moving, or can save and invest more since you're paying less for housing. After saving and investing more for a few years, maybe you can cut back on how much you're working, or you can spend more on vacations, or paying for college for your kids will feel easier. If you believe that your family will be happier in a bigger house, then your brain will start looking to find all the reasons to support moving to a bigger house. If instead you believe that your family is happy living in your current house, then your brain will start looking for all the reasons that that's actually true. A belief is really a thought that we think over and over to the point where we can accept that it's true. But that doesn't make the belief actually true. We can change our beliefs by changing our thoughts. Choose a new thought we want to believe, and then focus on thinking our new thought over and over again until it becomes our new belief. That's why it's important to watch our thoughts and choose the thoughts that help move us forward. Thoughts that help us grow a wealthy mindset. Having made it financially is really an arbitrary goalpost that someone can set for themselves. Enjoying the journey of doing well financially is what will free someone from chasing the finish line. My recommendation to this poster is to contribute regularly to a splurge fund so they can set aside money to spend on whatever they may want while continuing to meet their financial goals. My other recommendation is really to work on wanting what they already have. Tell me, what did you think about this episode? It may surprise you that I've actually spent about 4 hours really thinking out what I wanted to say. Was this actually worth listening to? My hope is to open people's perspectives to think from a different viewpoint. I'm not trying to say it's wrong to want more, to want to be able to spend more, to want a bigger house, or to travel more, or to have nicer vacations or more vacations. What I'm really saying is really think about what your wants are and where you want to spend your money and the consequences that can come from how you spend your money, as well as the rewards that can come with them as well. Email me your thoughts at growyourwealthymindset@gmail.com. I would really love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a listener of the Grow Your Wealthy Mindset podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you could share it with your friends and colleagues. And now for the disclaimer. I am not a certified financial planner, accountant, or attorney, and nothing I say should be construed as professional investment, tax, or legal advice. This show is primarily for your education and entertainment. I am a physician, but I'm probably not your physician. So if you need any medical advice, please contact your own physician. Thank you.